Virgo, stop what you're doing for a second and really tune in because the energy coming through right now is extremely intense. There is someone right now rehearsing words, not out loud necessarily, but in that interior theater we all carry, the one that runs, that replays conversations before they happen, that tries on sentences like clothes that don't quite. Someone is standing in front of that mirror right now with your name on their tongue and something heavy in their hands. And you can feel it, can't you? Not the words, not yet, but the pressure of them, that particular atmospheric shift that arrives before a conversation you haven't been told about yet. Like the air before a storm. Not dark, not loud, just different, heavier, charged with something unnamed. That feeling is not anxiety, or at least it is not only anxiety, it is your nervous system doing what it was built to do, reading the room, sensing the current beneath the surface, knowing before the mind catches up that something is being prepared for you. You are not paranoid. You are perceptive. And there is a profound difference between the two. Let's sit with this right here in the space before the conversation, because this space, this strange suspended corridor of waiting, is less than #0. 5# is greater than is one of the most psychologically revealing places a human being can inhabit, and almost no one talks about it. We talk about the revelation. We talk about the aftermath. We talk about how we handled it, how we didn't, what we said, what we should have said. But this moment, right now, the moment of knowing without knowing, of sensing the shape of something before it has been given a name, this moment is where your psychology lives most, honestly. Because in this moment, you cannot perform. You cannot strategize. You can only feel. And what you feel right now, underneath the surface tension, underneath whatever face you've been wearing today, is worth paying attention to. Is it dread? That cold, specific weight that suggests you already know that what's coming will require something from you? Is it a quiet relief? The kind that feels almost shameful, like finally, something that has been hovering is about to land? Is it that complicated mixture of both? The part of you that wants to know, wrestling with the part of you that is terrified of what knowing will cost, all of it is valid. Every layer of it. Now, let's talk about them. The person who is trying to find the words, the one rehearsing in that interior theater, because there is something important, something that often gets lost in these situations, is less than #0. 5# is greater than about what it means to struggle to say something to someone. People do not hesitate over things that don't matter to them. Think about that for a moment. When something is easy to say, when it costs nothing, when it carries no weight, it comes out quickly, without rehearsal, without the search for the right moment, the right words, the right container for it. But when someone is trying to figure out how to tell you something, when they are circling it, approaching it, and retreating, testing sentences in their mind and discarding them, that hesitation is not cruelty. It is not manipulation. It is not a power game, at least not always. It is more often than not the shape of someone carrying something they know will land heavily. And they're right. It will, whatever it is, it will land. And they know it, which means, on some level, even in whatever complexity exists between you, they are thinking about you, about the impact, about how this arrives in your world. That doesn't make it easier. I'm not saying it does, but it is a different thing to be on the receiving end of careful hesitation than to be on the receiving end of careless disclosure. And it's possible, just possible, that the care in their struggle is the most honest thing they have offered you in some time. But let's go deeper, because there's a question beneath the question here. Why haven't they said it yet? Not as an accusation, as a genuine inquiry, because the gap between knowing something and saying it is never empty. It is filled with something, always. Fear, most likely. Fear of your reaction. Fear of what the saying of it will change between you and them. Fear of their own vulnerability. Because to tell someone something difficult is to expose yourself as the bearer of it. It is to step forward and say, I have been holding this and I can no longer hold it alone. That is not nothing. That is a significant act of surrender. And it's possible that what's been keeping them silent is not a lack of care for you. It's possible it's an excess of it. A kind of paralysis born from caring too much about getting it right, about not breaking something they value, about finding a way to deliver truth without it becoming damage. I want to hold something else up to the light here, because there is another possibility, one that sits less comfortably. It's possible that what keeps them from saying it is not fear for you, but fear of themselves, of what the saying of it reveals about them, of what accountability looks like once the words are no longer contained, of the version of themselves is less than #0. 5# is greater than that will have to stand in the room with you after the truth has been spoken. Both can be true at once. That is the uncomfortable complexity of real human beings. They can hesitate out of love and out of self-protection in the exact same breath. And you don't have to choose which one to believe. You only have to decide how you want to receive what's coming. And this is where your power lives right now. Not in knowing what they're going to say, not in preparing the perfect response, not in bracing yourself so hard that when the moment arrives, you are already armored and distant. Your power lives in the quality of your presence. When the conversation finally happens, because here is what I want you to consider, and I mean this seriously, sit with it. The way you receive difficult truths says more about who you are than the truths themselves. Anyone can respond well to easy news. Anyone can be gracious when the words are kind and the delivery is gentle and the room feels safe. But to receive something hard, something that lands in you like cold water, something that rearranges the furniture of your understanding, and to remain somehow in contact with yourself in that moment. That is a form of mastery that most people never develop. And it's possible. Quietly possible is less than #0. 5 hash is greater than that. You are being asked to develop it now. Let's talk about the thing that lives underneath all of this. The thing that the waiting stirs up, but that predates this situation entirely. Because when someone is trying to find the words to tell us something, what we feel beneath the rational adult surface of us is often something much older. It's possible that the dread you're carrying right now is not entirely about this person and this thing they're trying to say. It's possible that it's also about every other time someone stood across from you with something unspoken between you. Every time you sensed the shift in atmosphere and braced yourself for what was coming, every time you were right, every time you were wrong, every time the truth arrived and changed the shape of something you thought was solid, that accumulation, that layering of moments is what makes this kind of waiting so heavy. It's not just one conversation. It never is. It is every conversation like it that you have ever had to survive. And I use that word deliberately, survive, because even small, difficult truths require a kind of survival, a reorganization of the self around new information, a quiet, invisible grief for the version of reality that existed before the words were said. You have survived before. That is not a small thing. C'est étrange, mais j'ai l'impression que what you might be most afraid of is not the content of what they're going to say. It's possible that what frightens you most is what you will feel after, the response that will rise in you unbidden, the emotion that doesn't fit neatly into who you believe yourself to be, the anger that feels too large, the sadness that arrives too quickly, or perhaps most unsettling of all, the relief that shouldn't be there, but is. We are complicated creatures. We do not feel the right things on cue. We do not grieve cleanly, or receive truth gracefully, or respond to difficult moments with the composure we rehearsed in our heads. We feel contradictory things simultaneously. We feel grateful and betrayed in the same breath. We feel hurt and relieved, loved and abandoned, seen and exposed, all at once. And that is not a flaw. That is what it means to be human. That is what it means to be someone who actually feels things rather than someone who processes them from a safe distance. Whatever you feel when the words finally come, let it be what it is. Don't edit it in real time. Don't correct it toward what seems appropriate. Just let it move through you, the way weather moves through an open space, fully, without apology, and then gone. Here is the first question I want to leave between us. Sit with it. Don't answer it quickly. What part of you has already known what they're trying to say and chose quietly to wait for them to say it first? Because sometimes, not always, but sometimes, we are not as uninformed as we appear. Sometimes the waiting is not passive. Sometimes we are the ones who have set the stage for a conversation we could have initiated ourselves, but didn't. Because something in us, wise or perhaps just tired, decided that the words needed to come from them, that this was their responsibility to carry to you, that you had already done enough carrying. There is no judgment in that, only recognition. And here is the second question, the darker one, the one that asks the most of you. After you hear what they've been struggling to say, who do you want to be in the 5 minutes that follow? Not who you think you should be, not who the situation seems to demand, but the version of you that exists underneath the roles and the reactions and the history, who does that person want to be? In the moment after truth arrives, because you have more choice in that than you may believe right now. The words will land however they land. You cannot control that. But the breath that follows the first choice you make after the impact is less than #, 0 hash is greater than, that is entirely yours. Laisse-moi ralentir un instant, because I want to say something about what happens after difficult conversations. After the words have finally been spoken and the silence that follows them settles like dust in a room after something has fallen. There will be a moment, and it may come hours later or days, not necessarily immediately, where you will feel the weight of this lift slightly. Not because the situation resolved, not because everything became clear, but because the not knowing will be over, and the not knowing that suspended, pressurized corridor you have been standing in is its own particular kind of suffering. Named things, even painful ones, are more manageable than unnamed things. A wound you can see can be tended to. A wound that is only felt, never located, that is the harder thing to carry. What is coming will give you a location. It will give you something to work with. It will give you the specific shape of a thing that has been shapeless. And shape, even when it is the shape of something painful, is the beginning of understanding. And understanding, even incomplete, even uncomfortable, is the beginning of choice. And choice, real choice, conscious choice, the kind that belongs to no one but you, is the beginning of everything that matters. So here is where I leave you, not with a resolution, not with a prediction about what they'll say, or how it will go, or what it will mean for you. I leave you here in this corridor with your lamp. You are the one holding it. You have always been the one holding it. And when the conversation comes, and it will, because things being held always eventually release, you will still be holding it on the other side, in the changed landscape, in the new version of the room that will exist after the words have been spoken. The lamp does not go out because someone finally said a difficult thing. You are not that fragile. Even when it feels like you might be, even when the waiting has worn you down, and the dread has been heavy, and the not knowing has taken more from you than you'd like to admit, you are still here, still breathing, still perceptive enough to sense what's coming before it arrives, still present enough to ask what it means. That is not a small thing. That is the whole thing. Stay with yourself. Whatever they say, stay with yourself. That is the only instruction that matters right now. Not the perfect response, not the controlled reaction, not the performance of someone who has it together. Just stay in your own body, in your own knowing, in your own unedited, unperformed